Hi everyone, welcome back to SSBM Geneva. Today we have a short, quick update and podcast with our new president of SSBM Geneva. It's a pleasure. I don't want to butcher any introductions, so I'm going to give you the floor. Welcome.
Thank you, Gal. My name Leif Erik Wollenweber. I'm a professor of business administration and now the new president of SSBM Geneva. Really proud to be that, and it's a great team. You see one part of it here, and it's absolutely lovely with them, and has been a great start for me. So an opportunity to say thank you.
No, thank you very much for being here, and it's great to chat with you. We've been in meetings and discussions all day, but we just want to get to know you slightly better. So please feel free. We want to hear about your background, why you decided to come to SSBM Geneva. So it's a big role, big shoes to fill. So we want to hear more about you.
Absolutely. So it's not only fun; it's also work. Yeah. So.
Yes, from time to time, right?
So what exactly do you want to know? So I'm a studied social scientist. So it was maybe a strange way of luck that I became a professor of business administration. But with this, you can see that whenever you take a certain career path, that you can always change it. Yeah. So maybe one first advice, but.
No, I mean that's great, especially we want to know just mostly for our students any tips and tricks, because a lot of our students are focusing on their MBA, so they're looking at leadership, and we know that you're very educated and have so much experience in the leadership aspect, marketing as well. I know specifically as well. So, how seriously do you take your role within leadership, and what would you share to the students?
Yeah. Well, one book that comes into my mind, we just had lunch, is from Simon Sinek. I hope I pronounce it well enough, and it's Leaders Eat Last. Yeah, and that's one thing about leadership, that you don't take yourself so seriously and you don't put yourself in front. There's even interesting research for those of you that are looking for research topics. The larger the photo of the CEO in the company brochure, the worse the company is doing in future. Yeah. So as a leader, you have to be a bit narcissistic, because you're putting yourself on a top position, but it shouldn't be too much. Yeah? So.
Well, if you're not putting yourself as number one, how are you motivating, your employees? That's a huge question. I think maybe leaders struggle with that, or managers struggle with that. But how do leaders deal with that?
I think that, and I really am convinced of that the question is already wrong, because you don't motivate people. People are intrinsically motivated. So people are motivated. And if you find people that are not motivated, then they have been demotivated. Yeah. You see that when there is a toxic boss. So the easiest way to see that is with football teams or with sports teams. You have so many experiences in so many cases where there was this one trainer, and once this one trainer was removed, the team next weekend already is like new players. But they were the same players that were losing on a streak for months, and then there is a new captain and a new trainer, and the old one got removed, and they're doing so much better. And this shows that the best you can do is not demotivate. Yeah. But this is also your job, because it's not only that you as a leader can demotivate people, but there are obstacles, there are procedures, there's red tape, all of this stuff. Yeah. And when you make this your job as a leader, to remove that as much as possible, then it's fun for people, because people went into a certain profession or went into a certain job mostly because, not only because it was for the money, but because they liked it. Yeah. And when they lost that for a reason. But it's always something that you can rekindle. Yeah. And this is something that you always should have in your mind, and don't take yourself too important.
Yeah, that's really interesting because, I think a lot of people nowadays also talk about, my workplace might be toxic or we have toxic people. And I think it's kind of like a buzzword that goes around a lot of the time. But so do you feel that there is a need to create, kind of like a comfortable, maybe not a motivated atmosphere, as you just said, people are motivated because they either want to do work in marketing or in management or in finance. They know what they want to do. But how easy is it to create a healthy work environment nowadays? A comfortable place for people to work?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the one thing that I wanted to add, and that also fits to this part, is in psychology, there is the Pygmalion effect. And that's quite near to the placebo effect from medicine. And that is when you think that you have a great team and you're really convinced of that, then you're going to have a great team. But when you're saying, oh, well, my team is the worst ever and I don't know what they did with you, maybe this is the case in the first or two or 3 weeks or something, but later on it's your team and it's your responsibility. So if someone has been a manager for more than 6 months and or she still says that she or he has a bad team, then she or he is not talking about the team but about themselves. Yeah. Maybe not exactly the answer, but
no, it makes a lot of sense. I think, especially because after Corona and the pandemic happened, we've seen a lot of changes, in the work dynamic. I think people got used to working from home or working remotely. Coming back can be quite difficult, so it's just about easing that transition, I presume.
Yeah, it is something mixed. So something that I wanted to add to that, and that is important, of course, is the diversity. Diversity in all kinds of how you can define diversity. And what I saw and what I predicted, and it came across also in part, is I've seen 1 or 2 crises before, and that is, for example, the one in 2000, 2001. So dot-com bubble, 9/11. To cut the long story short, also there in 99, 2000, there was scarcity on the workplace, and it was the first time that there was a casual Friday that people could go at 5 o'clock where they normally had to work till 7 o'clock and so on and so forth. Yeah, and all employers behaved like they were so liberal. But the moment the crisis struck, they cashed in all those freedoms, yeah, and afterwards for years they were still strict. Yeah? And so with this you could see that it wasn't their belief, there was just, it was en vogue. There was just following the pressures, and the moment the pressure was gone, then it was no internal belief of them. And in part you could see the same after those lockdowns and this horrible time, when many people proved that they were doing an even better job when they could manage their time and their energy themselves. But still, then many managers wanted them to come back to the offices. Not so much. There is one thing where I see a reason in that, because teams work better when they see each other. But some managers love being managers because of the feeling of power. And when people are remote, then you don't have that feeling. And this was one of the reasons why they wanted them back. And that's, of course, the wrong reason. And if you do something for the wrong reasons, then it doesn't work. And this is also one of the reasons, like I think, why there is so much turnover after that, because people didn't want to have this anymore, and they saw the alternatives, and that off they went.
There are many different directions that you can go into. I wanted to jump on, you were mentioning again the remote work, bringing people back in. Communication is a big part of everything, and especially with the workplace, and even interpersonal, work relationships, whether it be from your colleagues or a manager speaking to employees. We in SSBM, so we have a campus in Geneva. We have many different instructional sites in Zagreb, Croatia. We also have different partners, so it's a huge part. of us: connectivity, communication, making sure we're all on the same page. What advice would you give to our students, who are looking for different jobs, or just within the university schools where they're at now, with communication, how to communicate effectively and concisely?
Yeah, one thing is personal relationships. Yeah, so we've seen it all. I think that people that are very good in personal skills and that have great networks have better careers than others that might be more qualified, but they are maybe too introvert or don't have those networks. So there are the two, those that are studying on site, use that, do network, go out, and just do not only concentrate on studying. It's important, of course, yeah, but then also look at the human side of it, also for the fun. Those that are studying online, you can also visit us. You can also build masterminds, learning groups. You can also network, even in your professional environment. Yeah? So it doesn't have to be a student of SSBM that you're exchanging your ideas with, but another person that is also on a higher level of education, that now with getting new information, you can discuss what you learn. Yeah? So that's also very important for learning itself, because if you just read a book and have nothing to relate to, then yeah, you probably will forget it quite soon, and it's harder then to apply that. Yeah. But if you really understand an idea and you are also able to reflect it with others, then this becomes a part of your own behavior, and you become a better manager, you become a better professional in marketing, sales, wherever you are.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more when it comes to that. All right, so you've given some advice. Now it's time to hear the best career advice, maybe that you've received whilst working, or even whilst you were a student, something that maybe that kind of stuck with you, that's either someone said or something that you've learned.
Yeah, so sometimes we learn best from our own mistakes, yeah, and I tend sometimes to be lazy, but what has saved me is that I'm disciplined. So what helped me most in my career was the ability to study to an end. When I begin something, I bring it to an end. And so I did my diploma, kind of master, and then I also did my PhD, and that is supporting me until today. Yeah. So that is a kind of an effort investment I did more than 20 years ago, and it's still supporting me 20 years afterwards. Okay. So it's grit. Yeah, basically it's grit. It's discipline, and I'm saying that even though that I don't like it, but it's like that.
You just have to finish it. Yeah, you have to complete it. That determination, that grit.
And it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Yeah, you can in that case, in comparison to a real marathon, the good thing is with studying, you could put this into small sprints, but at the end of the day, you have to run those 42 kilometers.
Absolutely, and life's a marathon as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Erik. We really appreciate your time, and we'll be hearing more from you as the time progresses. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Gal, for having me. Grand merci.
Absolutely, merci.